Welcome back. Today, we've got a fantastic explainer lined up for you. We're going to take some traditional management theory and, well, turn it into practical collaborative magic. We're talking about taking a random group of individuals and forging them into a truly high-performing project team. So get ready, because we are mapping out the real journey to synergy.
So I want you to stop for just a second and honestly ask yourself this question. When you step into your workplace tomorrow, are you operating as a manager? Or are you truly stepping up as a leader? Now, I know it sounds like a simple question, maybe even a bit of a cliche, but I really want you to critically evaluate your own daily role right now. Because honestly, the difference between those two things, that dictates the entire success of your team.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this contrast is absolutely crucial. According to our sources, management is basically all about directing actions. It's using a prescribed set of behaviors to just get things done. It's very mechanical. Leadership, on the other hand, is an entirely different ballgame. Leadership is about guiding the team. You aren't just dictating from on high, you're actively using discussion and a mutual exchange of ideas to move everyone forward. Basically, management pushes, but leadership pulls.
Think of this next bit as our project charter for today's explainer. Here's our roadmap. Number 1, mastering your leadership style. 2, the stages of team building. 3, collaborating across any environment. And finally, number 4, organizing the team's artifacts.
All right, kicking things off with part 1, mastering your leadership style.
You know, maintaining influence with your stakeholders and actually getting things done doesn't start with fancy technical charts. It starts with what our sources call power skills. Now, we used to refer to these as soft skills, but let me tell you, there is absolutely nothing soft about them. We're talking about collaborative leadership, flawless communication, really high emotional intelligence, active listening, radical empathy, and total transparency. These are your baseline inclusive competencies if you want to make any actual change happen. These interpersonal power skills are your foundation.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it shows that a truly effective leader doesn't just pick one style and stick with it forever. Effective leadership is highly tailored. You've got direct leadership, where you make the hierarchical calls, but then you have consultative, where you factor in team opinions first. There's servant leadership, where your entire job is to model behaviors and clear roadblocks out of their way. Consensus allows the team to basically operate autonomously. But the real magic? That's the situational style. That's the ability to actively shift gears between all of these based on the team's maturity, the type of project, and the organization's rules. You literally have to read the room.
And to read that room correctly, you really need a growth mindset. Think of it kind of like stacking building blocks. You have to continuously stack past experiences to improve, but you can never let them blindly dictate your next move. Having a growth mindset means discovering new ideas through honest introspection and active team discussion. It's about consciously avoiding complacency. You're building yourself up block by block so you can build your team up right alongside you.
Moving right along to part 2, the stages of team building.
And this brilliantly illustrates a concept I absolutely love. Think of a high-performing team like a rowing crew on the water. You need cohesion, solidarity, and every single person rowing in perfect rhythm. If just one person goes out of sync, the whole boat veers wildly off course. Getting a team to perform like this requires immense trust, unity, and a total focus on the team over the individual. But here's the thing. A team doesn't just drop into a boat and perform like this on day one. It's a journey.
Actually, scratch that. It's a very defined 5-step life cycle, known as the Tuckman stages of team development. First up is forming. Everyone meets and slowly begins to build basic trust. Then comes storming. And look, the crucial takeaway here is that conflict is totally normal. In the storming phase, people assert control and issues naturally pop up. So as a leader, do not panic. It is a necessary step. Because right after storming comes norming, where the team finally starts working productively without all those control issues. That clears the path to performing, where you actually hit that optimum productivity in that collaborative rowing rhythm we just visualized. Finally, there's a Johning, where the work wraps up and the team shifts to their next big adventure.
Throughout all those stages, your job as the leader is to strike a really delicate balance. You've got to balance the team tone with a real sense of urgency. Yes, you absolutely want fluid communication, great engagement, and highly positive interactions. You want them to be happy rowers, for sure. But you also have to tie all of that directly to delivering actual value. You have to emphasize the project's vision, hold the team accountable, and ensure they understand they are active participants in delivering the organization's strategic goals. You are constantly balancing empathy with accountability.
Zooming out a bit, let's hit part 3,
collaborating across any environment.
Our sources put a big emphasis on the concept of an agile space. If physical co-location is possible, like getting everyone in the same room, that's golden. It's absolutely the best way to foster interaction. But notice the core definition here. It encourages collaboration while ensuring private spaces for deep, solitary work. An effective leader fosters meaningful interaction to support autonomy, regardless of how the physical walls are actually arranged. You have to design the space to fit the work.
But what if your team isn't in the same room? Virtual teamwork is the reality for so many of us now. This just means the project manager has to work extra hard to manage engagement. You have to actively manage the risk of your team members feeling isolated. You need to leverage those video conferencing tools not just to talk, but to carefully assess body language and tone. You've got to enable total visibility using tools like Kanban-style boards so everyone knows exactly what everyone else is doing. When your rowing team is distributed across the globe, instilling that shared commitment takes highly intentional, deliberate leadership.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 4, Organizing the Team's Artifacts. Let's move to and see how this builds. Because without a tailored approach, project teams can easily create an absolute mountain of artifacts. We're talking project charters, product roadmaps, backlogs, task boards, change requests, various baselines, the list goes on. If you don't manage this, it turns into pure chaos. The crucial takeaway here is that this specific list isn't prescriptive for every single situation. A really effective leader tailors the artifact types specifically to the exact needs and complexity of their unique project. To manage that mountain of artifacts, you need the right systems, and it's really helpful to differentiate between two main types. First up, you have your Project Management Information System, or PMIS. Think along the lines of Microsoft Project. This actively gathers, integrates, and shares dynamic project data. But alongside that, you also need an artifacts management system, like SharePoint or Google Drive. These are simply accessible locations used to safely store and distribute the project's historical files. You absolutely need both of these functioning smoothly.
But hey, a system is totally useless if it's a mess on the inside. You have to standardize your artifacts using good practices. This means selecting universally accessible locations and using what are called information radiators to make the work highly visible to everyone on the team. You need standardized templates, so everyone is basically speaking the same language, and structured review processes so nothing slips through the cracks. Providing this shared, standardized map for your team is honestly just as critical as setting the rowing pace.
And the golden rule of managing all this information, it's captured right here in your configuration management plan, which dictates exactly how information is recorded and updated. The absolute core of this is strict version control. Come on, we've all lived the nightmare of a file named projectcharter_final_final_version3.docs, right? If half your team is working on version 2 of a document and the other half is on version 4, your synergy instantly breaks down. Strict version control is what facilitates the consistency of your final product. To tie this all together, I want you to remember this core philosophy. Artifacts enable reconstruction of the history of the project and to benefit other projects. See, a true leader isn't just hyper-focused on crossing the finish line today. A true leader's ultimate goal is to leave a clean, beautifully organized, and documented legacy for future teams to learn from tomorrow.
Let's bring back our rowing crew one last time. We've seen exactly what it takes to get this boat moving smoothly, haven't we? It requires mastering your own personal power skills. It requires guiding a group through the rocky, stormy stages of team dynamics. It requires designing the right agile workspaces, whether those are physical or digital. And it requires backing it all up with rigorously organized artifacts and version control. It takes leadership, structure, and teamwork, all operating in unison to find that perfect synergy.
So we are back to exactly where we started. But hopefully you're armed with a whole new perspective. Now that you understand the true mechanics of collaborative synergy, I'll ask you again. What kind of leader will you choose to be for your team tomorrow? Are you going to just manage their behaviors, or will you truly lead their ideas? Take these concepts directly into your workplace, apply them, and watch your team transform. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep growing, and I'll catch you next time.